Good evening and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is SDN Racing for Season 5 at Division 1, and it is round 10 here at the Japanese Grand Prix, the land of the rising sun, the only 8-figure track on the calendar. My name is Jamie Morris, and alongside me tonight is Milan Alanga. Hoe gaat het?
Goed, thank you very much, and good to be back again. A long time no see, but we are back for Suzuka, and as it seems like we only got 16 drivers right now, so that's not going to be a very entertaining qualifying one, at least. That's only one driver will go out, but Suzuka, it is a great track. It's one of the best tracks on the calendar. Very technical, and most of the drivers on the grid absolutely love this track, and I agree.
I do like this track, because even though that I don't think it suits me, I have picked up a few podiums, unexpected podiums as well. So this track has gone well for me in the past. I've always liked this track. It can be a bit difficult, especially on a pad there, but you're going to be very quick. You're going to find the right lines as well, carry the speed through the corners, hit every single apex as well, and you have your wits about you around this track because you can't afford to make any mistakes either. High-speed circuit like this could catch you off guard. The exit at Dunlop, where we saw Logan Sargent crash, I think, last year in 2024, when he broke the rear of the car, as now we head towards Dunlop 1 and 2. Is that what it's called?
Degner.
Don't know why I said Dunlop. Where is Dunlop?
I think that's the one before.
Yeah, turn 7. So yeah, apologies guys. I just woke it up. So apologies about that one. I don't know why I said that, but yeah, Degner 1 and Degner 2 makes a lot more sense now. So it is Q1. So we're going to see some people out there on the intermediates like Raymond in the Aston Martin. Doesn't want to give up the soft compound tyres too early just yet. Just waiting for the soft compound tyres to have an effect because the track will continue to rubber down ever so slightly during the course of this qualifying session. It is green, but the VMS Laser is back out there. His last appearance was at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and it had a lot of people talking, especially Williams after that race as well, because Williams weren't happy with this man, Laser, who was in the Williams at the time, looking for his win. First win on his debut, but he gave it to Fireblades in the Ferrari, and now he's in the Ferrari with Fireblades, so Laser and Fireblades should be an interesting combination as we make our way down towards turn 1 in this flat out right-hander. Now we can start thinking about braking for turn 2, get the car rotated to get as close to the curb, use all the curb on the outside of turn 2 and turn 3, heading towards the S section now. Just carry the speed as much as you can. Try not to take too much curb because it will throw you off into the unknown as we make our way down towards this left-hander we go of Dunlop. Flat out corner in 5th gear. Went a bit wide the corners previous, so therefore couldn't get the run on top of the hill to make that stick. As here comes Laser in the first Degner, coming down towards the second Degner. Plenty of people have crashed in the barriers there over the past history as well, but not common. Coming into the corner where Danny Kvyat dropped it in 2015 in qualified, and coming out of the corner where Carlos Sainz dropped it twice, one in 2015 and the other one in 2022 in the damp conditions, of course, when that tractor came out. And unfortunately for that, the track organisation not really learning from what happened years and years ago. As rightly so, the drivers complained about the tractor being there, whatever it was at the time. But here comes Laser now as we make our way down towards this back straight. And it's going to be a 11.4, sorry, just a bit of a lag spike there in terms of the game and updates itself. But Laser then makes his way towards the final 2 corners. It has been a clean lap, as you expect an opening lap to be. Has it been perfect, of course, because he's still learning as the qualifying session goes on. As here comes Laser at the final corner, tries to catch a chicane. It's a 28.0, and I dare say that will be beaten.
It will indeed, but it is a clean lap, and that's all he needs right now in this qualifying session. It's only Q1, he needs a lap time on the board, and only one driver, well, 2 now, will go out. And that's not what Robba has done, because he has invalidated his run on mediums. But I think last week as well in Q1 he went on the mediums, and then his second lap was actually quite good as well. So we keep an eye on what he can do, as he's just started another lap. Ramon, in the meantime, in the Aston Martin, he has not set a representative lap time. He is on the intermediate tires, as is suspected, to test the equipment. Only 2 drivers will go out. It's a long qualifying session, but Laser is still out on top, but not for much longer, as Lawrence in the Alpine, he goes into 2nd place. He's just over a second off the Ferrari. Haven't seen him driving here before, so good to have him around as well. Let's see what he can do in the Alpine tonight. But Laser still on top. Only 3 drivers has set their lap time. 13 minutes remaining. It's going to be an interesting qualifying.
Yeah, the main aim and focus is to get yourself inside the top 15. And for those guys who can make it easy through, they don't have to worry about anything. Maybe use one set of soft compound tyres, then bring it home. But you never know, because the track evolution can change dramatically around here as well as the tyres will get better and better as well. So let's see. Robbie Jacobs is getting a slipstream off his Haas teammate as he pulls out the ways. Heisen Haas goes up into first place. Do you know what? I'm going to admit defeat here. I will never say that name properly. Never, unfortunately. So I'm really sorry for Heisen Haas there because you're going to have to hear me say his name wrong over time. It's just the English tongue. I don't have the native tongue. But here comes Robbie Jacobs, P3 on the medium compound tyres. That's a stellar lap time indeed there from the Haas who won the USA Grand Prix last week. Eastbound picked himself up a 10-second time penalty, but still he finished in P2 because he got it removed on that day. So that really helped him because Eric could have been the one to lead the championship in this race, but Eastbound did get his penalty removed and therefore still finished in P2 with kicking Eric in P3 and P4. Eric has been looking really strong so far this season. Of course, he had that win back at the it was the Monza Grand Prix as well. What a fantastic drive that was from Eric. And at the British GP, he's been looking really strong recent events as well. So let's see if we can keep it up as we got majority of drivers there back in the pit lane. We've got Fireblades out there in the Ferrari on a flyer lap. This is crucial for Ferrari because Laser is a very strong driver. Ferrari are currently leading Williams in the championship. You expect RB to be up there, but they haven't really had the second stable driver, it must be said. But Ferrari versus Williams is looking very spicy at the top of the championship as Man of the Beast has joined the session there. So that's going to be 18 and therefore 3 people will get knocked out of this session then. But yeah, Ferrari super close in the drivers and constructors championship. Not much separating them. The gap is only 3 points between the Ferrari and the Williams there, and the Haas currently in P3. RB, despite Haas in P3 despite Eastbound picking up a lot of wins, are only P3. That's how crucial it is to have a second driver who has got matching your pace.
Indeed it is, and we look now at Fireblaze. Is he going to make his way into the final chicane where we've seen plenty of action before? As Eastbound, talking about him, he goes quickest with a 127.8, just over a tenth ahead of Geitengas. Let's see what the Ferrari of Fireblaze can do as he comes across the line. 127.8, very good lap time indeed as well, within a few hundreds of Eastbound. So Fireblaze looking rather comfortable around the Suzuka circuit, it seems, as he's very close to the time of Eastbound, who is always very quick in qualifying. Timmy Boy has gone up to 6th place in the other V-Cup, so maybe finally the V-Cup can get 2 cars in a very good position in this race, but it's still a long way to go. It's only Q1 and anything can happen. Ruben in the Red Bull also very much a contender in qualifying. He's making his way into the final chicane as Mominick goes up into 7th place with a 28.9. We now look at the Red Bull, who's going to cross the line in a second time. A 128.2 puts him into 6th position.
Indeed it is. So Ruben then, the man that won the Chinese Grand Prix, and he's got some really good pace, has the Red Bull, but he has been lacking just a bit in the last few races, so hopefully he can revive his form as Heiten Haas knows he's currently safe in P3, so there's no need to go out there, waste another set of soft compound tyres, just in case you need it for Q2 and Q3, because the guys at the top of the end of the field, they can put the lap down like no problem whatsoever, because they don't feel the pressure, because they know they have the pace to go through to Q1, so that there's no need to go on another set of soft compound tyres. Save those softs for Q2 and Q3, because obviously in Q3 the pressure rises up, and therefore more mistakes can occur as all the drivers are extracting performance, the best performance, as Eric exits the first deck, now coming towards the second deck now as he hits the apex very nicely and runs on the curb. He was purple in the first sector, hasn't got a lap time on the board just yet, but straight line is breaking in towards the hairpin, and there's multiple different lines people can take. Some people like to go for the high line like me, or cut to the inside. It depends on your choice, depends if you can make it work for yourself. As we're coming out towards Spoon in the famous corner where Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen made contact in 2018, and both Mercedes as well also running wide at the exit of Spoon, I think in 2024, and Eric gets a nice slipstream on the back of his own teammate there, so I'll help him down this back straight as he comes towards the middle sector. It's 11.0 for the Aston Martin driver. Let's see where he can put himself. I'm talking like it's Q3 here, but it's not, it's Q1, so you have to remember that, because yeah, it's just interesting to see what the drivers could do in the early stages of qualifying there, see if they show their true potential pace. But here comes Eric. This could be a good lap, and it is a 27.4 as this was Ward. That's a fantastic lap time there for Eric.
Wow, very quick indeed. Almost 4 tenths quicker than Eastbrand, who we know is very quick in qualifying UC. That's a very strong lap time indeed to start off his qualifying so far, as he puts his Aston Martin well out in front Still a couple of drivers out on a lap. Kick is one of them in the Williams. The Williams haven't really set a representative lap time just yet, as Eastbound has retired from the position as well. He knows he is very much safe. But Kick is making his way through the final chicane and on to the start-finish straight. Let's see what his first lap time can be. Can it be a 27? It can be a 27, and he goes up onto the front row. With 127.6, 2.5 tenths behind Eric, but that should be able to get him through into the next part of qualifying. As Evan in the other McLaren, he goes up into third place.
I watched a TikTok video about SDN about the race winners this season, and interestingly, Kick is not on that list either, as Lucas has beaten him in the past few times they've raced, such as the Australian Grand Prix, such as the sprint in the Australian Grand Prix as well. So our champion from last season, which is Kick, unfortunately does not have a race win this season, so it's going to be one to watch out for. He's had the pace, but he's been unlucky in certain areas. Back in Silverstone, of course, when he liked that as well. Kick was also on the podium last time in USA, despite having no luck to go there, because the safety car came out and he did not pick a 3-second time penalty either. So that's what cost him to go up. That's what caused him to catapult his way up towards the grid. Then has got Men of the Beast, who is slowing down. I presume he's made a mistake on his lap, but Kick goes through. Evan so far in McLaren has done a really good job. Now, we have seen his qualifying, we have seen his race pace, but I noticed that during the second stint, he does tend to fall away so slightly as well. I remember him struggling to stay in DRS range in that second stint, and therefore the guys were able to pull away. But Ivan, slowly but surely, is starting to find more pace, is the young Dutchman. I think a first podium could be coming towards him, because I'm surprised he hasn't got one yet this season, but he's always been lurking in the pictures, and I really hope that despite a injured, what did he say? Was it an ankle or bruised arm? Bruised, broken toe. I hope he's okay. Oh, he spins, so yeah.
Definitely the injury then. But Lucas in the second Williams, he is on a lap, but he did have a moment in the hairpin as he just lost the back end as he was making his way through it. So not an optimal lap so far, but it's currently down in P16 and in the ROP zone, so he needs to set a good lap time now with only 5 minutes remaining, but he's only going to improve by 2.7 seconds quicker right now, which would put him inside the top 10 if he finishes this lap, and I'm sure he will find a little bit more time in the final sector as well as he makes his way into the final corner, turn 18 of the Suzuka circuit. Lucas from P16 all the way up into P5, a few thousandths of a second behind Eastbrand, and it's an AMS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Indeed it is then. So Fireblaze in front of him can see a whole gaggle of cars who are AMS. But I believe that the AMS boys should race amongst themselves, unless of course your teammates like Kick and Lucas, then obviously you can work together. But I noticed that there has been some favoritism thrown about in different leagues because everybody's got the same name and some people haven't. But it should be a free-for-all at the end of the day. Nobody should be helping either, unless of course your teammates in that team like Lucas and Kick, as they're both in AMS as well. But yeah, I really hope that it's going to be a good race. It should be a good race, as it always has been in the last few races. Action-packed, spicy as well towards the top end of the field. But the question is, though, for the time being, who is safely going to get out of Q1 then? So, Octavia, Men of the Beast, ETA Lawrence, by the way, he was in PSGL F2, as he picked up a win as well earlier in the season, as I commentated over him. I think he's just got up the order. No, he hasn't stayed as P17, so he's on the cusp of elimination there. So, there is 3 drivers then, Mummy Nick, Lawrence, and Octavia, who are currently on the brink of being knocked out, as I think Timmy Boy, TVHNL, Raymond, Hoodman, and Men of the Beast potentially might have to get a move on and improve. But I think P10, I'm going to make a bold prediction and say P10 is the bold to be the best place. But we've got ETA Lawrence then, who is going to start a flying lap in the Alpine. A 29.0, of course, looks like my bruised, Evan's saying. But yeah, Evan, I'm not quite sure what you were talking about. But whatever happens, looks like my bruised broken toe doesn't affect me. Well, I'm glad it doesn't, mate. So yeah, looks like you're able to keep going on the track without any problems whatsoever, even though you had a lot of spin in the triangle Castillo chicane there. But I want to ride on board with ETA Lawrence because he can produce some magic moments, especially when I've been commentating of him in different leagues as well. So I'm going to be surprised to see what this man does, and I can't wait to see the build-up of his qualifying lap as well. So he's left it late out there. It says 3 minutes and 20 seconds left to go. The positive is, though, if he doesn't validate on the next lap, he's always got the fuel, possibly, and the time, and to cool down the tyres to go for it again. So he's giving himself options here. That's exactly what I do as well. I like to go out a little bit earlier, so I can have 2 times on the board, just in case I validate my first one. So here he comes then, preparing his flying lap out of the Triangle Castle chicane, as now the DRS foot to the floor with wide open. Yona truly crashed there back, I think, in 2009, as Kamui Kobayashi replaced him. But Lawrence then taking the middle of the road as avoiding the bumps on the inside as we head towards turn 1. Flat, I missed the apex there, goes out wide, then comes back in nicely towards turn 2 as we make our way out towards the S section here, fully committed. It's all about how you use the curves, because some people don't have the confidence to use the curves to rotate the car as it throws you off balance. But you're going to have the commitment, you're going to be very precise on how you use them as well. Sometimes to your advantage and sometimes in people's disadvantages. As we exit Dunlop in towards the double right hand we go, flat out through here, now on the brakes very quickly, down to the gears, in fourth gear, kiss the apex, back on the throttle once again with the ERS he has as well. Got quite a lot of battery saved in that Alpine, so he can use it down the straights then where it's needed. But as he exits now the hairpin, gets a good launch, no signs of wheel spin as he got on the car very nicely there, breaking traction as we make our way now towards this flat out corner here. We shouldn't have any problems. Now coming towards Spoon we go. This can be a bit difficult as well. You can easily mess this up as well, but nicely done there. Good rhythm, good smooth line, and he didn't have to make any major corrections on the steering wheel then. So ETA Lawrence then comes towards the end of the middle sector. He is currently 3/10 up in the middle sector, but I presume the last sector is where he lost his time on his best lap. So here he is then, ETA Lawrence headed towards the final 2 corners we go, and let's see what lap time can he set. It needs to be a good one to get himself inside the top 10. Can he do it? He can! Oh. He goes up into P2. What a stonking lap time there from ETA Lawrence. He pulled it out of the bag when it was absolutely necessary. Look at AMS Raymond going well in the Aston Martin. He's currently 5/10 up in the middle sector. AMS Eric is out there to give him a tow. That's very good teamwork indeed, because AMS Eric doesn't need to go out there, obviously, but his teammate does. And here comes Raymond then. Does he use that tow to his advantage as he crosses the line now? He does. It's P8 then, which should see him through to Q2.
Indeed, he's B8, so under half a second behind Eric, but there's only a handful of drivers who can still improve. Goudmans, TVHNL, Teamboy, Mominik and Octavia all trying to get himself out of the bottom 5. Middle of the beast, he is the first one to retire. He's down in P13. Will that be enough is the question. Teamboy, he is on a lap as well in the Visa Cash Army. So is Mominik, has just started. Octavia is near the end of his lap. TVHNL has just started his lap as well. Goudmans in the McLaren is going quick. He's 3.5 up on his time. So for sure he will get himself into Q2 if he just doesn't mess up this final chicane as he comes out with the McLaren. Currently down in P14, but a few tenths up on his time could put him potentially near the top 10 as it improves. One position only, but he does go ahead of Middle of the Beast, who's down to P14 into the danger zone. Octavia goes ahead of him as well by 2 1/1000ths of a second. Octavia is currently safe, but TVHNL, Team Boy as well on a good lap. Team Boy is up by 2 tenths to the middle part of the lap, but he needs to improve by 5 tenths in order to get himself into the next part of qualifying. Goes a bit deep into the chicane as he makes his run to the line. Can he put himself into Q2 across the line? He can! Oh, look how close that is! Splits Goudmans and Octavia. They were so close with each other. Octavia is through. Metal the Beast is out. That is confirmed. TVHNL currently not on an improvement. Mominik is up by 3 tenths of a second. But will that be enough? He will need to fight a little bit more time in this final chicane. He's been struggling so far this season in the Kick Sauber. Can he finally find a bit of hope as he crosses the line? Mominik goes only P17 and he will be out of qualifying. That leaves only TVHNL to try and improve, try and get into the next part of qualifying, but he goes deep. He goes into the gravel and the Mercedes driver is out in dead last P18.
Oh, what a shame there for TVH. He was running such good, in a such good position in the last few races as well, but struggling here in qualifying. Mominik, we know who's a usual suspect, unfortunately, who gets knocked out of Q1 in P17 of the Kick Sauber. Kick Sauber have been really struggling as well this season with both their drivers just can't seem to catch a break as Goudmans has. How do you say that name, by the way, Milan?
Goudmans.
Goudmans.
Something like that.
Well, I'll try my best with pronunciation, but if I don't pronounce your name right, I'm totally sorry. Same with the man in P9, Geiten Haas. I think I don't pronounce it properly, do I?
Geiten Haas. Maybe one day you won't get it right, but it is a very hard name to pronounce, so we'll give you that.
Thank you. As an Englishman, as an Englishman, it's very difficult to say those names, so you just got to bear with me for, like, depends how many races it'll take you to get to know the name. But qualifying is done and dusted in Q1 then, and we'll see the people who have been eliminated out of that qualifying session as the results as Dan Field, mate. Nice to see you. That's been a long time. Daniel Field, of course, who is a PSGL PC commentator, and we started out a very, very long time ago, about 5-6 years ago. So nice to see you in the chat. I wasn't expecting you, out of all people, to be in the chat, but welcome, mate, and hopefully you're doing well. It's nice to see you once again, a refreshing face as well. But just wait for the classifications to pop up on the screen, and I can't wait to see what happens in Q2. Hopefully it's not a glitch, because here we go then. We're getting into, in fact, we've both seen the results. Okay then.
I did see the results in the end. Eric was fastest by 9,000ths of a second, and Middle of the Beast missed out by just 2,000ths of a second. But we move into Q2. 5 cars will now get eliminated, so it's going to get a bit more tense, and the pressure is going to rise a little bit more. So we've got 15 minutes to try and progress into the final part of qualifying.
So 2 people have left the session then. They're probably going to take a break and join back later on as well. Hopefully they do. Hopefully they have a rage quitted. But 15 drivers then remain in Q2 as we can see the nice, well, it is sunny but out there, but cloudy as well. We do see the weather impact Japan quite a lot. So we'll see if any rain hits the horizon in maybe the race, but maybe qualifying, I think we're okay. But yeah, rain always spices things up here in Japan as well. And back in 2022, where we saw Sebastian Vettel versus Fernando Alonso in the last few of the Grand Prix. Esteban Ocon holding up Lewis Hamilton as well in the Alpine versus Mercedes. And Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc holding, well, Perez and Leclerc fighting over second place, but I think Leclerc had to pick up a penalty towards the end because Verstappen won the championship in 2022, but it got announced not during the race, but a slightly bit afterwards, because Leclerc's penalty got acknowledged, and therefore Verstappen won the championship. And the way Johnny Herbert or whoever did the podium interviews, conducted the podium interviews, did a shocking job as well, because they showed no enthusiasm. Verstappen won his second championship as well. That's Sky Sports F1 for you.
Indeed, and a year after he won it in the sprint race, so 2 cursed championships, well, you can say 3, but that has happened a long time ago now. But Japan is known for its history, especially when we look at Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna.
Oh, yeah.
All those years ago, at the end of the 80s and beginning of the 90s, they had a few moments around here. In turn once in 1990 and in 1989, they clashed at the season finale, not the season finale, but they did make contact, sending Prost out of the race, and Senna, he got pushed by the marshals. He did use the escape route and was later on disqualified, which gave the championship to Prost by an FIA head FIA, who was a Frenchman. It was a bit cursed back in the day, but it did provide plenty of entertainment. Let's keep it at that. But a very heated rivalry between Prost and Senna, one of the history books, and yeah, most of their moments happened here at Suzuka.
Indeed it is then. So Lucas then makes his way down the main street as we head towards turn 1. Like you mentioned, back in 1990, when we saw Ayrton Senna and Alan Prost crash in towards turn 1, as now we see Lucas then negotiates turn 3 and turn 4. Carlos Sainz spun in his last race here in Toro Rosso, because the race afterwards, I think in Malaysia or somewhere like that, he went to Renault as well to join that team, as I think back then it was Danny Kvyat who replaced Carlos Sainz. Or I can't exactly remember who replaced him at the time, but yeah, as we head now, it was Pierre Gasly. Sorry, Pierre Gasly replaced him in mid 2017. As yeah, it was a bit of an odd shuffle, because you not really see that many. That's not really been talked about much, because yeah, we do see mid-season swaps between like Red Bull or RB or whatever. But in terms of going to a completely different team in that season from Toro Rosso to Renault, it's just very, very strange in my opinion. But I'm pretty sure that they wanted their junior driver or Pierre Gasly to join before he became a full-time driver in 2018, racing for the Scuderia Toro Rosso Honda as he was back then as well. But yeah, now I thought about it, it just seems pretty weird that that happened as well, going from Toro Rosso to Renault in one season. But here comes Lucas at 11.3. That's not the best middle sector we've seen so far. I presume some people could be on a scrubble set of soft compound tyres then, not showing their potential just yet as he locks up going towards the chicane then, so definitely lost a lot of time. Massive wheel spin to go with it as Lucas then makes his way towards the line. It's going to be a 28.0, and I know that's not his quickest lap time, so it must be a scrub set of soft compound tyres he's using in this early part of qualifying.
Indeed, what can Robert do in the Haas? He goes to a 27.7, that's more like it. A Van with a 27.3, I think that's the quickest we've seen so far in this qualifying session. Very good lap indeed, as he has been strong in qualifying over the past couple of races, but hadn't been able to make it work in the races just yet. But he is getting there. Ruben in the Red Bull, he is P4. with a 28.5. So a lot of drivers, I think, are on a used set of tires as Kick. He goes into the 27s as well with a 0.775, already very close. But Evan, surprised to see him that far ahead. Very good lap indeed from a McLaren driver.
Could be a brand new set of soft compound tyres attached to McLaren as well, so hence why there's a bit of a difference. But not to take away that lap time of Evan, it is spectacular indeed. What a fantastic lap time. But who's spun there? Is that a Red Bull? That's Ruben spinning. I think he just completed a flyer lap, and he's unfortunately spinning here as well. Yeah, it was him. So it wasn't. It was his teammate Octavia who went for a little bit of a spin there in the Degners in the first sector, but he held somebody up. Was that Eric in his wake? It was. So Eric might have been compromised a little bit, seeing the recovering Red Bull come back on the track. But it's a 31.8 in the first sector compared to Van. His best first sector is a 31.6 then, so I think he's about 2/10 off as we make our way down towards the hairpin. In towards the hairpin we go now. The famous Kamui Kobayashi corner. Kamui Kobayashi sent it up the inside on a lot of people during his days here in the Sauber, and Toyota. But here comes Eric now towards the final few corners we go in this middle sector, coming towards Spoon, an iconic circuit, another iconic track indeed. As Eastbound goes quickest with a 27.312, that is 600s quicker than Evan in P2. There was a fantastic lap time there for Eastbound as Eric gets a nice toe on the back of his teammate as the Aston Martin driver will pull out of the way, hopefully right about now, which he does do as Eric can focus on the braking zone in towards the final few corners we go. Can he keep it nice and tidy? Use a lot of curve there as well. Try and maximise all parts of the racetrack as Eric goes into P3. Wow, so close.
So close indeed, 2,000s behind Van. Geitenkaas on lap as well. He was a bit unstable through Spoon curve as he cuts across the chicane, but doesn't invalidate, but he is going to pull into the pit lane. So certainly not happy with his lap, and Geitenkaas currently without a lap time, as well as his teammate and Laser, who was the first one to go out in Q1. Definitely not the first one to go out in Q2, but he is now on an out lap to try and set a lap time in a few moments' time. Goudmans in the McLaren spinning his way into the final chicane. He's currently down in P11. Sure, he can go faster, but doesn't need to spin into the pit lane now as well, as it's a bit chaotic halfway through Q2. But Eastbrand, Evan and Eric, all from AMS. Look how close it is between that top three. We don't know who's on a used set of tires and who's on a quicker set of tires, but it's good to see Evan very close as well. And we know that Eric can potentially find some time in the first sector. As you said, he was held up a little bit, so going to be interesting to see if he can go that little bit quicker in the final part of qualifying.
On board with the Ferrari driver of VMS Laser then, who hasn't set a lap time on the board just yet, so I presume he's got a brand new set of soft compound tyres attached to that car. Let's see what he could do then as he opens up the lap there with the DRS wide open on board with the Ferrari of Laser, who made his debut back at the Hungarian Grand Prix. What a fantastic debut. He could have won the Grand Prix but pulled to one side and let Fireblaze go as we head down towards turn 1 flat out as well. Look at the speed they carry through there as the car's rotating very nicely towards turn 2. Seems to communicate really well and in harmony and sync with each other, but messes up the Degners a little bit there as well. Not the Degners, the first sector of the S's. So Laser runs out wide, unfortunately, so that hard work has unfortunately been thrown away. It's all about this. I think it's the S section where a lot of people do get caught out indeed, but Laser, unfortunately, his lap time will be ruined. I wonder will he still push on this lap or will he back off and try and regenerate the battery? We'll see there, but he's definitely in the back foot with that mistake in the first sector there as well, as an Alpine gets out of the way just in the nick of time as well, because Laser was arriving to see very quickly. As we've got Laser and Timmy Boy who are currently on their flying laps right now, as everybody else then, the people who are safe, I dare say, are making their way back out of the pit lane there. So why is the cut-off time? Is it a 28.0? Let's find out in a few minutes' time as well, when everybody else puts on the bonus set of soft compound tyres, and we can have a clear indication of who's quickest. But Laser, unfortunately, has ruined and wrecked that lap time then, as he slows down dramatically to try and regenerate the battery, because I think he's going to go for the next lap. You can see that there's no fuel light popping up on that car, so it tells me that he's fueled the car for one more lap just in case something like this happens then. So Laser on the back foot here. He can still pit in if he wants to, put bonus set of soft compound tyres, but will he want to do that? Will he want to sacrifice a set of softs in qualifying, or maybe the race even, because of a safety car? Who knows then? So unfortunately for Laser then, the options are wearing out as Timmy Boy is now making his way towards the end of the middle sector at 12.5 from the RB driver, as Patak Job is currently, well, I think Patak Job is his current teammate, but unfortunately he's not here tonight. But here comes then the RB driver out of the final few corners we go. Let's see, can he get himself inside the top 10? The answer is no. It's only P11 for him and just outside the top 10. I say just, it is 0.3 of a second there. So ETA Lawrence and AMS Lucas coming on the flying lap. ETA Lawrence has put on a brand new set of stock compound tyres, and already, look at that, 0.3 of the first sector alone. That's a mighty pace there from ETA Lawrence then, as he cuts over under the bridge as we head down towards the hairpin we go then. Just braking in a straight line, down through the gears he goes as he tries to connect with the apex on the inside. Runs out wide of the curb there. Very nicely done indeed. This lap time is shaping up to be a spectacular lap time, and we'll see how it all unfolds for the rest of this lap. Coming into spoon we go, downshifting twice into 5th, now down to 4th as well. Back on the throttle once again then, revving the engine out as well as we head down towards this back straight. ETA Lawrence has fueled the car for only one lap, so this one lap is crucial. It's going to be a 10.8 in the middle sector, and he's currently 7/10 up, but can he find any more time in the last sector to match the likes of Eastbrand, Ivan and Eric in P3 as we make our way out of the final few corners we go. Let's see, where can the RP slot into this equation as he makes his way towards the line now? It's pole! At 27.1. That's provisional pole, ladies and gentlemen. What a lap time that was.
Wow, 2/10 clear of anyone right now. That's a very quick lap time indeed. In the meantime, Laser's got up to P8 just ahead of his teammate Fireblaze. We look at Lucas as well. He's ran out of ERS, but he does improve by 0.4 of a second, puts him only in P5. But man, what a lap time from Lawrence in the Alpine at 27.1. I'm not sure if anyone is going to be able to beat that. Very quick indeed. We've got 4 minutes remaining. He's for sure is safe for the next part of qualifying. Eric is going to start another lap, surprisingly, in the Aston Martin. We did know that he'd get held up a little bit on his first lap, so let's see if he can improve on his second lap. Can he get anywhere near the time of Lawrence in the Alpine that we've just seen as he's making his way through the S's? A couple of more drivers retiring from the session. They know they are safe as he hits the grass a little bit through the S's, so not an ideal line. He runs a little bit wide here as well. Now making his way into turn 7, should be flat out in qualifying, deploying a little bit of ERS as he makes his way into the 2 Deckner corner. Is he going to improve to sector 1? No, he's not. 2/10 down on his time, and that was where he lost a little bit of time on his previous lap. So currently Eric unable to improve, but I think he is going to give his teammates slipstream. Ramon is right behind him, like we've seen in Q1. Ramon currently down in P11 as Ruben has improved to up to P8. Ramon is in the drop zone. He needs to find the time to get himself into Q3. He's currently 6/10 almost behind Fireblaze, but he is going to get a nice tow from his teammate. So is that going to be able to drag him into Q3 as he makes his way on the back straight? He is now in the slipstream using a little bit of ERS as his teammate should be getting out of the way soon as he's improving by exactly 1 second. So that should be able to get him through, possibly up into 9th place, maybe even 8th if he finds a little bit more time in the final sector. He has a little bit of ERS still remaining in the battery. With a moment on the exit as he comes to the line. Ramon goes up to 6th place. Good improvement in the final sector as well. And should that be enough for him to get him into the final part of qualifying?
Great teamwork as well from both Williams there, both Aston Martin, sorry, as Eric was out there to give his teammate a tow. He wasn't going out there to improve his lap time because it was 2/10 down in the first sector. But yeah, nice teamwork there, nice coordination. Obviously, it wouldn't happen in real life because in qualifying, you don't want to be that close to anybody, especially with the dirty air coming off the rear end of the car. But in the game, it doesn't really matter. But who's in danger there? Fireblaze is definitely in danger. He's outside the top 10. And Laser is well in P10. So both Ferraris on the back foot. Could one Ferrari find themselves out of qualifying? But it depends who, or if not both, to see. But Heiten has in P15 as Ruben. He's headed back into pit lane, so that won't matter anyway because he just cut the corner there. But yeah, it doesn't matter. But we've got Heiten Haas, who hasn't set a lap time on the board just yet in the RB then. So it's all or nothing for Heiten Haas. If he messes up this lap, if he validates anywhere or has a slight moment, he could find himself started down in P15 then. So this lap time has got to count for the Racing Bull driver as well then. So Laser then in P10 looking very nervous right now because you can see that the likes of Fireblaze, I dare say, of Heiten Haas in P15 could potentially boost themselves up the order. Or maybe another surprising driver, but we're about to find out then. So Laser, who makes his return here in Japan, who had a fantastic race back in Hungary, but this time sees himself almost on the brink of getting knocked out as well. Let's see then if any of these drivers behind can improve then. We've got Fireblaze out there on a set of soft compound tyres. And we'll see then, can he get himself inside into Q3? He would dearly love to do so as well, because Ferrari have been on good form as well in the last few races. As we know that Fireblaze won the Hungarian Grand Prix as well. That's the Ferrari's only win this season, surprisingly, at the Hungarian Grand Prix. But Fireblaze then starts his last potential flying lap around here in Suzuka. So let's see then what he has to offer in the Ferrari as he makes his way down towards turn 1. Just behind us is the RB of Heitenhaas as we make our way down towards turn 2 we go. Just look at that, taking a very wide entry there, cutting back in and getting the release he needs now, coming towards the S section we go. You can see that the car moving around as he touched the curb. Fireblaze there taking too much curb on the entry, and that could have cost him a chance to get himself into Q3 there, but Fireblaze will still continue on his lap time. But I dare say he has lost a lot of time. Look at that, a 10th down in the first sector. Can he make it back up in the middle or the last sector? But Fireblaze unfortunately using too much of the curb there, over rotated the car and almost sends him into a spin. But he still goes then, as I think if he does get into Q3, he would definitely need to learn that you can't touch the curbs on the inside there. But we continue with the Ferrari driver as he makes his way down towards Spoon we go, in towards this double left-hander into gear. Look at that, nice flow with the steering there. No multiple adjustments indeed on the Ferrari there, just nicely swooping the car in. As Fireblaze then makes his way towards the end of the middle sector. Let's see if he's up or down. 3/10 up. Ooh. He is 3/10 up, but might not be enough just yet, because Laser has still got a 10th in his hand, in his back pocket. As Fireblaze then makes his way towards the final 2 corners. Can he get himself into Q3? We're about to find out now as he exits the final corner. Where's this lap time going to pull Fireblaze? He puts him into P7. Fireblaze does get himself in to Q3 then, as the expense of Laser going out, and I think that the RB driver, or Heitenhaas, crossed the line to go up into P3, so both of them in. But Ruben and Laser, two upsets here in qualifying, I dare say. Those two are out of Q2, and while that, Milan, I will go to the toilet very quickly.
You do that as Goudmans is able to make it. Kick improves his time as well to get him safe, but he was already safe. He's in P7. But Ruben and Laser unfortunately out then in the second part of qualifying. As we now look at the final results, Laurens still was quickest. Is anyone going to be able to beat that 1:27, 1:23? 2/10, just under 2/10 ahead of Isbrand. Geitenkaas with his one and only lap. Very quick indeed with a 1:27.3. So is Evan and Erik Lucas, Kik and Ramon, all AMS drivers, 5 in a row from P4 to P8. And Fireblaze just making it through. So is Robbe. Must be said, Robbe in P10 in the end. So was actually quite in danger, the Belgian driver. But he is fortunate enough going to make his way through. He's always quick in both qualifying and the race. It would be a shame if he was knocked out. But he is just going to make it through safely as we now move into the final part of qualifying. Q3. 12 minutes to decide pole position. Who is going to start this race at the front of the field? And we know that pole position is quite important around here because it is not very easy to overtake with only one DRS straight, which isn't very long either. So you want to qualify well around here. And we've got a nice set of handy drivers who know how to qualify well, but you have to keep it within the lines and out of the grass, and Fireblaze cannot afford a mistake he did on his flying lap. And he knows that probably as well. So 11.5 minutes remaining. Already one of the Haas drivers going out. That is Isbrand. Is the first one to go out and try and attempt to set a very quick lap time. At 27.1 is the quickest we've seen. Is anyone going to be able to beat that? Or can Laurens potentially go even quicker? And potentially into 27.0. So are we even going to get into the 126s? That is going to be very, very tough. But who knows if these drivers are capable of doing such quick lap time. So Isbrand in the Haas, he is on his outlap trying to get some temperature in these soft compound tires. Not very easy to get temperature in these tires after the latest patch where they removed tire warming under AI, and they also made it very difficult to warm up your tires. But you have to really push a bit on your outlap in order to get some temperature into those tires. So that seems what Isbrand is doing, not going very slowly at all, as he makes his way into Spoon Curve. Number 13 and 14 on this track can be quite tricky on the inside with the curbs, and you can just very easily run out a little bit too wide as well. Now into the back straight, flat out, all the way to the final chicane with just a simple, I say simple, 130 yards, far from simple. It used to be far from simple, but currently it is quite easy to take flat out. And Eastbrand is about to start his first final lap. Let's see what the Haas driver can do. 8 drivers out on track, 9 drivers out on track. Ramon is currently the only one in pit lane, probably hoping to get a slipstream from his teammate Erik some way in this final part of qualifying. So Eastbrand making his way into turn 1. He's got Laurens right behind him as well, so it's going to be good to see these two compared alongside each other as Eastbrand makes his way into the first the SS is making a bit of a mistake, the back end stepping out, and I think Eastbrand has backed off because of that. So it is very easy to just lose the back end around there with the curbs in the SS. Laurens is pushing on though in the Alpine. Eastbrand, he has certainly backed off now. So we'll take a look at Laurens. A 31.9 is not the quickest we have seen, so I wonder if he is on a used set of soft compound tires. But we have seen a 31.7 or 31.6 even in Q2. So yeah, we know that some of these drivers can put on a used set of soft compound tires to set their initial run and then go for a brand new set of softs near the end of qualifying for their final and hopefully quickest runs. But Laurens, let's see what he can do. Bit of unstable through spoon curve as well as he hit the inside curve, now making his way onto the final straight. Only a handful of corners remaining. Can he get anywhere near his time? I think he is on the use set of compound tires. So let's see what the Alpine can do. 111.4, definitely not the quickest we have seen as he makes his way into the turn 16 and 17 chicane. Hits the bollard on the inside but doesn't invalidate, surprisingly enough. But the Alpine is going to make his way to the line. It's going to be a 127.7, and we know that his Q2 run was 6/10 quicker than that.
Yeah, which suggests to me that he's on the old set of soft compound tyres, and plus he made a few mistakes as well on the lap time. So we got more to see from ETA Laurens so far. Eastbrand goes up to P3 in the Haas. And Eastbrand is still the championship leader despite not winning in USA because he picked himself up a penalty towards in the Grand Prix under the safety car, but he got it appealed. As Eastbrand is then going for his proper flying lap as Erik goes quickest with a 27.0, so you can definitely tell he is on the bonus set of soft compound tyres. So what a lap time from Erik, who's really starting to shine now towards the mid-season as well, as Eastbrand obviously 3 seconds up in the first sector from his previous best as well. But so far Erik with a blistering lap time of a 1:37.0. We're close in the 26s as Eastbrand dives into the breaker zone at the hip, and they get the car rotated back on the throttle, trying to square it off and make sure he breaks traction with no problems at all through there as we make our way down towards the flat out right-hander. We should see a lot of overtaking go down towards Spoon, but we'll see if that happens or not. But it's always a bit wide for Eastbrand, and unfortunately for Eastbrand, he has invalidated that lap time as well. So not quite sure how good it was or not, but it's in front of us is his teammate of Robbie Jacobs then making his way towards the end of the middle sector. Is a 10.9 from the Haas as he makes his way now towards the final few corners. Both Haas's are looking very strong. We know Robbie Jacobs has been a few different teams this season. He's a reserve driver, but we'll see what the Haas man could do then as he makes his way now towards the line. He goes. It's going to be a 27.4, and I dare say for him as well, there's more to come, especially for the later part of qualifying.
Indeed, 27.4 is not a bad lap at all. But we know, don't know if he's on a used set of tires, but man, 27.0, absolutely blistering lap time from Erik, and that is going to be very tough to beat. But we know Laurens is still set to yet set a representative lap time, and we've seen just how quick he is in the first and second part of qualifying. So if there's any man who can get anywhere near that time, it is probably him. But we'll have to wait a few minutes before we can see his attempt. Fireblaze, he's in 6th position, who had a mistake on his final Q2 lap. But we still got one driver without a lap time, Ramon in the Aston Martin. It's an Aston Martin sandwich currently in Q3. I wonder if they're going to work together once again with a slipstream potentially. But we're going to prepare ourselves soon for the final runs. It's just the only 2 runs in Q3. Ivan, he is in the top 3 as well. He's looking very strong so far this qualifying.
Yeah, he is indeed. As Kevin says, hey, how are you doing, Kevin, mate? Nice to see you. Of course, he attempted the US Grand Prix last week, but I don't think things went out in his favour, unfortunately. But nice to see you in the chat. The man who also won at the Qatar Grand Prix, of course, when he made his debut for Division 1 this season, and took a fantastic victory ahead of his rivals as well. So, majority of drivers then are back in the pit lane, and we're just waiting before it all starts to kick off here in Japan. But AMS Raymond then, the only driver circulating on the track so far. As Kevin says, he will be there next week. That's good, Kevin. And we'll see what he can do as well. Have you just joined ETA, Kevin? Because I've never seen ETA in your name before. So if you have just joined, congratulations, mate. That's a big esports team to be joining. And they're very popular and very known as well in the League Racing community. Sorry about that, guys. Didn't mean to do that. But AMS Raymond then in P10 in the Aston Martin. Let's see what he could do then as he's started to fly lap very shortly. The only driver, of course, out there so far, just pulling the trigger very early in comparison to other people. Maybe he wanted to track position, maybe he wanted to get that second run in just in case he does have a mistake or makes the validation on his first lap then. So I think I presume he's got enough fuel in the car to do more than 2 laps if he does make a mistake in his first one. But we'll see then how this lap will unfold for the Aston Martin driver. There's 4 minutes and 20 seconds left to go on the clock. The track will be very busy very soon as well, so don't go anywhere. This is going to be a fantastic qualifying session. We don't know who's going to take pole. It could be anybody's favourite, but who can hook up the lap? Who could take it further? Who can go beyond the risks and find more time? We're about to find. Here we go, flat out, but still, not many people can connect with the apex towards turn 2. Don't have the front rotation, or maybe carry too much speed. As AMS Raymond already makes a big mistake on his first lap, touching the curb on the inside of the S section, and unfortunately, Raymond's going to lose a lot of time. But surprisingly, he is still going. If I was him, I would have bucked off by now and saved battery and gone for it again.
Yeah, indeed, big mistake so far in this lap. 31.8 is actually not a bad sector 1, but you know he's lost probably a tenth or two. His teammate is up ahead of him once again, and this is probably his only chance of his teammate Eric giving slipstream to Ramon, because Eric will want to start his flying lap after that. So Ramon knows this is probably his only chance of getting a slipstream, so that's probably why he has continued on this lap. He's making his way through Spoon Curve, has definitely not backed up, and he will get that slipstream once again, but he will be a little bit on the back foot after that first sector, as Eric, using a little bit of ERS as well, maybe will do another lap as well as he makes his way out of the way of his teammate. Ramon now into the final chicane. What can let this be? He goes a little bit deep as well. It's not an ideal lap time for the Aston Martin driver, but of a moment as well on the exit, very struggling, really struggling so far, and he goes only 8th fastest with a 1:27.7 with 2 drivers behind him who we know can go much quicker.
AMS Eastbound is on a lap. He's headed towards Dunlop right now. There's his teammate of, I think it's Robbie in front of us. So I think Robbie will give Eastbound a tow and vice versa as well when Robbie goes to his lap time. But Eastbound currently purple in the first sector, hasn't set a representative lap time. That's a 39.0 there for Eastbound. So he's definitely can find a lot more time than that. But there is 2 minutes left to go in his qualifying session. Everybody's main target is to beat a 27.0.54. And that's currently being held by Eric so far. But can anybody get close to him? Could anybody dethrone him off pole? ETA Lawrence is looking like a very handy contender, and Eastbound is also looking for Eastbound is also a handy contender as well for taking pole around here. So let's see if he can or not. But I think that's a bit too late, I dare say. Not really the best slipstream, but Eastbound does get a bit of a benefit down this back straight as he makes his way now towards the heavy braking zones. You've got to scrub off all the speed through the chicane here. It's very easy to overstep the walk around here as well, the chicane, by taking too much curb or outbraking yourself. But here comes Eastbound now towards the line. What's it going to be? Is it going to be pole? It is pole with a 27.022, and he beats Eric by 300 of a second there. Fantastic. Eric is in the middle sector, but unfortunately for Eric, he is down in the middle sector there. Can he find any time in the last sector? It's been very difficult to do so as he now makes his way towards he cuts the beam, and unfortunately, he can't improve. He stays in P2 there, but Lucas is out on the fly lap. Robbie Jacobs on the fly lap too. Lucas coming towards the end of the middle sector. Can the Williams do anything? No, he can't. And that could be qualified under Dustin because he hasn't got the fuel. He must have made a big mistake somewhere. So on board then with Robbie Jacobs in P6 as he's currently a few hundred from the first sector, but touched the grass on the outside, and he goes off the track. Just collects a bit of dirt on the outside there, touching the white line, and unfortunately that caused him to lose grip and have no downforce, unfortunately, and that's what cost him dearly as well. So that's a massive shame for Robbie there, just exploited with the track limits at the exit of the first deck there. But on board then with E.T. Lawrence now, as he's going to be the one to watch out for as well. In the Williams, I think Kick is on a flying lap. He is coming towards the first sector, but I think that's I think it is Lawrence who is closer towards the line. Lawrence is 2/10 up in the first sector then, so a decent lap time so far, but obviously that's in comparison to his previous lap time, which is a 27.765. But we definitely know that Lawrence can beat it then on a brand new set of soft compound tyres. Qualifying is done and dusted then. It is eastbound on pole. But can anybody take it away? Lawrence there getting very close on the grass on the inside of Spoon there, literally cutting the curb in towards Spoon. I haven't really seen many people do that before, but he's trying to use every single part of the racetrack to find the maximum amount of lap time he can in this lap. Lawrence there's 6/10 up in his middle sector, but he needs to find a little bit more time than that if he wants to take pole away. Here comes the triangle chicane now as we're down into third gear. To be very patient on the throttle as we get back on the throttle once again. Lawrence makes his way towards the line. Is this going to be pole? And it is not pole. Oh my goodness me, as I think Ivan goes up to P4 just behind him, but so close. 5 blades into P5 in the Ferrari. And look at the gap between those guys. Height and Haas up into P6, out qualifying both Williams who start on the 4th row, but the times are so close as well. Kick puts out Williams into P5, and it's under a 10th separated the top 4.
Man, that was so incredibly close, and well done to Eastbrand. His lap time wasn't off. Lawrence's lap was not ideal. He saw making a few minor mistakes, and that has cost him. He's only 26 thousandths of a second behind Eastbrand, and Erik in P3 only 31 thousandths of a second, and Van in P4 once again very quick in qualifying. 86 thousandths of a second puts him on the 2nd row. It is so incredibly close around here. And it shows in Kick in P5 in the Williams. The Williams and the Ferraris on the back foot. Only one Ferrari inside the top 10. The Williams down in P5 and P8 after Lucas had invalidated his final run. So he's unfortunately only down in P8 on a track where it is quite difficult to overtake.
Indeed it is. Only one DRS detection point, and that is on the main straight as well. So that's where we see all the battle happenings is there. We could see battles any part of the racetrack if some people fancy a move the inside in towards the hairpin, maybe down in towards that chicane. But we've seen plenty of times where people constantly chop and change the bit there, try and get themselves up the order as much as they can. But qualifying is done then. The classification should be on all screens anytime given, and it is. So Eastbound then on pole ahead of E.T. Lawrence in P2. The gap is so close between the top 4, under a 10th on a 5.8 kilometre track. Amos kicking P5 ahead of 5 blades. Heighton Haas is in P7 ahead of Lucas. Robbie Jacobs in P9, and Ramon will qualify in 10th place with a 27.7. But yeah, I don't think, unfortunately for him, didn't show his true potential towards the end as he made a lot of mistakes on his last flying laps.
Indeed, so one of the most important qualifying sessions of the year, as we have said. It is not easy to overtake around there, although if you ask Kimi Räikkönen in 2005, he will definitely disagree, as he went from 17th on the grid to the race win by overtaking Giancarlo Fisichella on the final lap of that race. And to my own experience in F1 24, I have done a race where I started in P15 and I won the race without any safety car. So you know, it's possible. You sometimes do need a little bit of a miracle, though, to make that happen. But anything can happen on this game, and it usually does. So anything to watch out for. We know Eastbound is on pole, but that definitely does not guarantee a win, even around a track like this, where it is so difficult to overtake. But I'm sure we're going to have a banger race ahead of us. Only one DRS zone, a little bit less of DRS playing or DRS trains, a little bit more of strategic games, which is what I prefer, to be honest.
I do as well, and we're going to see some people in the lower end of the field as well, go for undercuts as they want to try and get themselves up the order, because we know that undercuts can be powerful around here in Suzuka. But just waiting for the drivers to ready up. There is no formation lap. I keep telling myself every single week so I don't get surprised when the light is about to come on then. But the lights could come on any time given, as well as drivers will be given the green light to ready up, and I think it will be any time shortly. Just waiting for the lights to go out there, and we'll see what happens going down towards turn 1. Is there going to be any carnage going down towards turn 1? Remember, Roman Grosjean caused a lot of that back in 2012 when he made contact with Mark Webber in towards turn 2. Grosjean was an absolute menace that year. The only driver to get a race ban in 2012 was Roman Grosjean. He missed the Italian Grand Prix, replaced by Jerome D'Ambrosio at the time, who raced for Marussia. Then, obviously, last year, in 2024, Kevin Magnussen receiving a race ban. First time since Roman Grosjean as well. So, yeah, Kevin Magnussen received a race ban for that incident in Monza. But the lights are about to go away then, as we see the lights on the panels. Look, but never stare. We are underway. Foot to the floor here. It is round 10 for the Japanese Grand Prix. A lot of people getting screwed off the line there as we see Ivan ahead of Eric as we head down towards turn 1, side by side between the Haas and the RP driver. But Eastbourne has the outside line going towards turn 2. Look at that. Massive snap there from the Williams as he almost lost the car. Recollects it, but he's a ghost. But look at this. There's still wheel to wheel in the first sector. Who could get ahead? It is E.J. Lawrence who puts himself into first place. Great move on the inside. But look at this. Fireblades versus Kick. Further down the field we go as Fireblades almost lost it out of Dunlop, and here comes the Aston Martin. Here comes Hayton Haas, who puts himself into P6 then. So Fireblades tries to turn overtake, unfortunately down 2 positions into P7 then, but all 18 drivers still remain. But look at this, you can see that Lucas now getting very interested in the back, headed down towards the hairpin. All his contact on the back of Hayton Haas there, but I don't think he picked up damage. He can still continue. What a hectic first lap it's been, and Fireblades once again has been demoted down the field as he's been shuffled into P8 there, as Hodman is right behind the Haas of Robbie Jacobs. Robbie Jacobs on the hard compound tyres, so we won't have the grip in the initial stages of this Grand Prix, but the McLaren driver just squeezes ahead as he puts himself into P9, then fights out with Robbie Jacobs. But the top 3 are so close together indeed. Let's see what happens going down towards the first corner. Is there going to be any sort of movement immediately in the Grand Prix with guys behind wanting to get past? Because obviously Ivan's on the better mini compound tyres then.
That was Kick very much out of shape in the final chicane. I think he got hit as it all shuffled together into that final chicane. But the top 3 have driven away, and Ivan is inside the top 3, and he is on the medium compound tire. But what a brilliant start as well from Lawrence. Very aggressive in the S's and managed to pull it off, surprisingly enough, as we see the other McLaren of Goudmans. He's ahead of Robber, and Robber not in the position where he wants to be, as he usually finds himself at the front of the field. Currently down to P10, almost having half a look at the inside of the McLaren. Both McLarens on the mediums, and so is Lucas inside the top 10. So alternative strategies are being used around here later in the McLaren.
Eric.
In the other Ferrari. Oh, Eric has gone off. What happened to the Aston Martin? He's down to P7.
I was on board with Aston Martin. He just unfortunately just drifted too wide in towards Dunlop and got on the gravel and ceded 2 places towards Hayton Haas and Lucas there. So big mistake from Eric as well. One small mistake. Oh, who's that going for a spin in the background? It is Robbie Jacobs who has gone for a spin in the braker zone in towards the hairpin as he spins out of the Grand Prix, unfortunately for him. And what a shame there for Robbie Jacobs as well in P10. Not quite sure what happened to him, if he got pushed out wide there or made contact or just dropped it by himself. But he is down in the 18th place, still on the back of this DRS train as well. So he's rejoined all the way down in last place. It'll be very difficult there to gain places. But so far, it's currently Lawrence and Eastbound first and second on the hard compound tyres. Ivan's in a predicament here because he needs to utilise his medium compound tyres to his advantage, but he can't seem to find a way past these 2 then. So the longer he gets stuck in this train for him, it's not going to be ideal for him later on in the Grand Prix when those guys switch over to the medium compound tyres, the better tyres towards the end as well. But here comes Eastbound on Lawrence again as he puts himself into first place, retakes the lead of the Grand Prix, and I presume that's what we're going to see during this Grand Prix as well, as the guys ahead swapping places while the guys behind stationary and have no chance to overtake as well, with the DRS being so powerful. But both Red Bulls swap places. Ruben then, who got knocked out of Q3, is up into P10 ahead of his teammate Mummy Nick and Melody Beast to go side by side towards turn 1 and turn 2. But they end their battle, and Mummy Nick puts himself into P17 ahead of the Alpine driver then. So all 18 drivers still remaining in this Grand Prix, as we see the top 3 getting very close for indeed in comfort. But we'll see what strategy is the best. Is it mediums to hards or hards to mediums? In this game, it has been mediums to hards, but we'll see if hards to mediums is the optimal way to go towards in the Grand Prix. I don't think tyre life is too bad around here. Not what I can remember either, because I had a race around here not long ago.
I'll say that medium hard would be the preferable strategy, because they do want track position around here, as it has been difficult to overtake. But Robbe, he is on the back foot trying to make something of his race. He's currently down in P16. I did see what happened as I was riding on board with him on the moment as it happened. He was going wheel to wheel with the McLaren of Goudmans into the hairpin, and the McLaren just squeezed him just a little bit, and Robbe had to he got onto the grass, and that just completely unsettled the rear end of his car, spinning him off into the backbound. As we see Laser and Octavia, also Geitenkaas, and Lucas going wheel to wheel in the final chicane. Geitenkaas with 2 wheels on the grass still alongside the Williams, but Lucas is going to just edge ahead, but he doesn't have any ERS left, but he is going to get ahead now. P5 with Geitenkaas dropping back. What is happening to Geitenkaas? Now to P7 as he lets Eric pass as well, while Lowens has retaken the lead of this race. Not sure what happened there to the V-Carb, as he just dropped back on the main straight.
Potentially, he did have DRS, but like you said, just slipped backwards there, and he's down to P7 now, so not quite sure what happened to Geitenkaas, who is still looking for his first win of the season. Hasn't picked it up just yet, but he's been so close. But his last proper attempt was back at the Silverstone Grand Prix when he picked himself up a 10 in the second time. Currently down to P7 so far, just following this train, but he is making a few mistakes, I've noticed as well, going out wide in a few corners. As a result, he loses a little bit of time as well, so hopefully that time loss isn't sufficient enough to break him back to the US. But there's a spin in the background, and it is the McLaren of Houtman, unfortunately, who's gone for a spin in the hairpin, and he's rejoined towards the back end of the field.
And he's going to rejoin just ahead of Robbe, who we had a collision with 2 laps ago. So that's going to be quite interesting to see how these two get along in this race. Robbe is presumably much quicker, as he had made a mistake on his final Q3 lap. Even though he is on the hard compound tire, he does seem to have the pace, and he is in a little bit of clean air if he does get past the McLaren as soon as possible, who of course will not have the DRS, and the Haas driver will on the next straight. So let's see if he's going to be able to find a way past, as Lawrence sets the fastest lap of this race. Van is very close to the back of Eastbound, but is unable to get past just yet on this straight. It is very difficult, as we see Laser getting past Ruben. He's now up to P9, trying to make the most of his medium compound tires now behind his team. As Robin does get past the McLaren into turn 1 quite easily, and is now back up into P14. He's got a 2-second gap towards Ramon in the Aston Martin.
I remember the Japanese Grand Prix when I raced around here, is that when you're in positions like 5th, 6th, or 7th, it is so frustrating because only one DRS zone around here, and everybody's carrying the same speed as Kick. Almost lost it out of Degner 1 there, got on the curb, but still keeps it pointed in the right direction. But yeah, I was in a situation like this when I was stuck further behind the field, like 5th, 6th, or 7th place, and it's so annoying because, what's happened at the front there? Is that E.T. Lawrence making a mistake at the hairpin? Is a Van going to capitalise? Nope, he's a bit too far back, and of course he doesn't want to go for a move into Spoon, just in case that Lawrence pulls away then, so he just stays behind. Bides his time for the time being then, does a Van, just waiting for the right opportunity to overtake as well, as we see on the straight. He gets so close with the power of the slipstream as we head down towards 130R with that fantastic move with Fernando Alonso versus Michael Schumacher as well back in 2005, I believe it was, as we head down towards the hairpin. Obviously, contact! Ivan has been spun around. Kick has hit the back of him, going in towards the chicane, and poor Ivan. Ivan is looking for his first podium of the season, but unfortunately it spins him out as Lucas and both Williams swap places there. Eastbound, it's up into first ahead of Lawrence, but what a shame for Ivan there, running his own race, not doing anything wrong, but unfortunately Kick just arrived too quickly on the scene to spin him out.
Yeah, very unfortunate indeed for the McLaren driver. He just got hit into the back by the Williams of Kick, who's now dropped down to P4 as well, as We now got another medium runner inside the top 3. Lucas has got ahead of his teammate as well, can try and close the gap towards the top 2. Isbrand and Laurens still remaining in first and second, as the entire top 8 is within DRS range of each other. Octavia, must be said, doing a good job in this race. B9, though he is on a medium compound tire and he's not within DRS range, as he makes a little bit of mistake as well on the exit of the hairpin. He's 1.4 behind the top 8. Laser on the mediums should be a bit quicker than his teammate right now. I wonder if they will play any games, team games, or if he will stay behind his teammate for now, as we are on lap 6. We've got 21 laps still remaining after this one, so it's a long way to go, and we've already seen plenty of mistakes, plenty of incidents so far, as it was a bit of a messy opening stage of this race, but it seems to settle down just a little bit now, as Isbrand, he's got 4/10 to Laurens, who I think made a bit of a mistake on the previous lap, or lap before. He's not going to go for the move just now, as Lucas has now also closed the gap down to under 4/10 of a second.
Yeah, it was over a second when that incident occurred at the chicane, as Ruben gets back ahead of his teammate Octavia. So, Ruben goes off the track and gets a 3-second penalty as well, as Ruben there just went too wide in towards turn number 1, and Octavia then retakes P9 away from his teammate. They're trying to catch the back of this DRS train because it has been split, unfortunately, from 9th place downwards. So these guys on the touch now, whilst we see the top 8 pulling away. Great recovery drive as well from Lee to get himself back inside the top 10. No way, but I say, there's no way Fireblaze is going to go down the inside in towards Degner 1. It's too sharp of a corner to go side by side there, as Fireblaze just backed off, probably trying to spook Haas, but he won't be phased on that occasion, as he stays in P6. Robbie Ackles is ahead of Raymond, then those two still fights their way. That was before the hairpin, so I wonder if Raman made a big mistake out of Degner 2. And it's a big snap of oversteer, as Halfman unfortunately has dropped it again in the same place as he did a few laps ago, and he's going to rejoin in P17 as well. So those guys are struggling out there in Japan. It is a very difficult circuit, as Ivan gets ahead of Timmy Boy, puts himself into P11. Next up is both Red Bull drivers on the road, just in front of us with Ruben then, who's had a lot of mistakes himself during this Grand Prix, has got himself a 3-second penalty as he pitched up on the last lap as well. But here we are on the main straight once again then, with the DRS wide open, and the only people that the only people that can move forwards really in this train is the top 2, because they can swap and change DRS all the time. But the guys behind just can't seem to find a way past as well. It's just so difficult trying to overtake somebody around here in Japan being stuck in the DRS train.
Indeed, it's very difficult to overtake. And like you said, only Laurens and Isbrand, because everyone else behind has got DRS on each other. Unless you have a mega exit or someone makes a mistake, it's just impossible to overtake, as they're also saving ERS throughout the entirety of this lap, which makes it even more difficult to make the difference on the back straight, as Laser's dropping behind just a little bit to his teammate, almost 8 to 9/10 of a second, so maybe starting to feel the effects of tire wear on these medium compound tires. Not sure how long they last, but the advantage to the hards must be quite soon, as we are only on lap 8 of this race. He's got the room behind on 2.5 seconds ahead of Avan. It's not been a great race so far for the McLarens. They were quite quick in qualifying, but both of their drivers had separate incidents. Avan, of course, not as fast, and Goudmans, he spun twice in the hairpin. So not an ideal day so far for Avan, but he's trying to fight back in this race. His next target will be Ruben, just ahead of him, and I think it's not going to be very difficult for him, as he will have the DRS on the next straight, while the Red Bull driver will not have the DRS, as we will go on to lap 9. Laurens lead, but look how close the Haas is of Isbrand, and he will for sure re-overtake the Alpine as he gets past on the main straight. Isbrand back into the lead of this race as they swap once more.
I wonder if the guys behind will probably think about undercut as well, just be stuck in this train, as we see that plenty of times where people get stuck as a van gets himself up into P9, just looking for the undercut, see if it works. It's a bit too early, obviously, to go for an undercut right now, to go from hards to mediums at this stage of the Grand Prix. And I expect the medium runners to pit in about 3 or 4 laps time as well to get rid of their mini compound tyres. Both Williams have split the strategy, both Ferraris have as well, as we head down towards the first Degner and the second Degner as well, with Eastbound still in the lead of the Grand Prix. It's just the top 2 that have been moving around so far in this race, while the rest have remained stale. The top 2 have been chopping and changing at the pit there, as they've used each other for DRS and go past each other, try and keep the other guys behind as well. But Hartmann unfortunately picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. He's dropped backwards once again. Has McLaren driver, he's in the wall where Lewis Hamilton crashed, I think, as well, all those years ago, and he's spun the car once again. So yeah, definitely not having a good time around here in Japan. But look at Heiter Haas, who just all over the back of Eric for a very brief moment there at the exit of Spoon. But he will stay behind for the time being. Then where will these guys decide to make their moves as well during the course of this Grand Prix? As we see that Lawrence gets so close on the back of Eastbound as we head down towards the chicane we go. Let's see what happens going down towards the main straight. Will Lawrence use the battery to just overtake Eastbound, put himself back into the lead of the Grand Prix, because Kick and Lucas will be following too very shortly. As Octavia picks himself a 3-second time penalty in this race as well. Not really seeing Lucas use the battery. Lawrence is being very tactical, not going for the move just yet, because he knows first and second is the best place to be. As the McLaren driver has gone for a spin once again of Hartmann. But yeah, ETA Lawrence and Eastbound are playing this very tactically by changing DRS and staying in first and second, keeping the guys behind as well, just placing their car, putting the cars in the right place at the right time as well, to keep maintaining the lead of the Grand Prix and keep the momentum going in first and second place. But Lucas there, all at the back as well of Lawrence, who made a big mistake out of Dunlop, had a massive bill spin when I went on board with the Alpine there. But the McLaren driver's going for a spin once again out of the final corner. He might box this lap and call it a day, because I think that's what's going to happen. He's in the pit lane right now, but let's see if he continues then, or will he retire from this session. He's still going to continue, so fair dues to him. Probably hoping for a safety car to come out, but unfortunately for the McLaren driver Hartmann, who started down in P12, falling into P16, just outside the top 10 there in qualifying. But we see both Williams close together. What is the strategy going to be at Williams? Because Lucas's tyres has reached the end of their peak performance potentially, so therefore Kick has a better tyre advantage at this stage of the Grand Prix. Will they order a team swap around here for Williams? Let Kick go and try and get after Lawrence and Eastbound, because nobody has been really forcing the pressure on Lawrence and Eastbound, because usually we've seen that people get double overtaken a few times as well, because the guy ahead of them have no DRS, but not to be this time. I think Lucas and Kick are just waited for the right time and the right moments as well, as Heiter Haas is on the back of Eric, but as once again too far back to make any sort of impression, as Ivan puts himself into P9. The gap between him and Laser is a whopping 3.7 seconds, so that's going to be very difficult for Ivan to close up unless he's got the raw pace to try and get himself amongst the fights for the top 8 there. But the Ferrari drivers are currently at the back of this train, have nowhere to go, but Heiter Haas seems to have more confidence and release out of Dunlop there, as he clapped the curb so hard there, I thought for 1 second we were going to go off the track there.
Very fortunate to keep it within the white lines, but he attacked that curve very aggressively. He does seem to have the pace advantage over the cars in front, but it is just very difficult to overtake around there, and just can't find a way past. And like you said, it would be very clever for the Williams to swap places around now, because it's going to get more difficult and more difficult for Lucas to follow two cars in front, as his tires will start to fade. It's 10 laps on these tires. It's about to become 11. He's down 7 tenths right now is the gap between himself and Lawrence ahead, and his teammate Kick is very close to the back of his Williams, as Goudmans once again into the pit lane, and this time he does retire from the session. Unfortunately, our first retirement of the day. He is out of Japanese Grand Prix Eastbound. He's got 3 tenths, and Lucas is going to pull to the pit lane quite early. He's going to go for the undercut on lap 11. He's pulled the plug, and let's see what he can do. He's not the only one, as Evan also into the pit lane in the McLaren. So is Octavia.
So I think there's a problem here. So we've seen yellow flags in sets of 1. Eric overtook Kick, but had to give the place back. Lawrence overtook Eastbound, had to give the place back then. So yellow flags are catching people out there. I wondered why Eric backed off. I thought a safety car came out, or VSC for 1 second, but they overtook when the McLaren driver headed off into the pit lane. So not ideal there. Lucas went for the undercut, but Kick, if you didn't notice when Lucas pitted, Kick had a massive mistake out of the chicane, lost the back end of the car, but I think Lawrence may sustain damage by the way he's driving. He hasn't, so he's still continued, but seems to be losing touch towards Eastbound there as we dive down towards the hairpin. So a lot happened. That's because of the McLaren driver retiring early, and therefore caused a lot of people to change positions and give the places back.
This could be a very critical point in this race because Eastbound is very close to getting Lawrence outside of his DRS, and once again the Alpine struggling through Spoon curb. He hit the inside curb, he's outside of 1 second right now. Eastbound is desperately trying to build that gap to above 1 second, but I think Lawrence has just a little bit lower wings. He's all out of ERS to try and stay within that 1 second, and I think he's just managed to do so, but he had to use everything of his battery to stay with Eastbound in front, and he's just about got the DRS, but the job is not done because Eastbound has got the ERS advantage, but it is getting very hectic around. There's Laser is the other medium runner. He's going to pull into the pit lane at the end of lap 12 to put on a brand new set of hard compound tire, as Erik very close to the back of Kick, and Lawrence has got the gap down to just over 0.6 of a second, as Robbe has got past Timmy Boy. Let's see where Laser comes out compared to Lucas, probably behind, but how much behind is the question as the Williams makes his way on the main straight. He's got a bit of clean air, which is good news for him, and he's well ahead of the Ferrari by over 2 seconds, I reckon. So Lucas has got 2.3 seconds toward Metal the Beast, but we know that these hard runners can stay out for a few more laps, and he will eventually hit that traffic, so that is going to be difficult for him to navigate his way through, but he currently is looking quite quick on these new hard set of compound tires. But when will the hard runners pit? I reckon a lap or 5 more on these tires, or 3, 4, and then we will see them pulling into the pit lane as well.
So what Lucas and Laser need to do now is, now they've pitted, try and pull out a big gap as much as you can for these guys on the hard compound tyres, switch over to the mediums, and they'll be hunted down to the end of the Grand Prix as well. So Lucas and Laser now need to push hard on these hards while they've got the clean air and newer tyres themselves, because these guys won't pit just yet, as they want to make sure they have the best tyre life on the medium compound tyres. As we head down towards the final few corners, then nobody's going to pit, of course, in this train, be unwise to, with the tyres dropping off towards the end of the Grand Prix. But Lawrence, despite that hiccup he had down at turn 2 going off the track, and almost out of the DRS range, as Robbie Ackles pitted then, so he has pitted, and he's going to go on the medium compound tyres then, so he's looking very feisty to take them towards the end. They can go towards the end, but their peak performance will probably drop off as well towards the latter stages of the Grand Prix. But so far, Lucas in P14 is 1 second behind Man of the Beast then, so he can't afford to get stuck behind him in the wrong possible place. I'm talking about the first sector in the S section. It's like Qatar as well. It's so difficult to overtake in that particular part of the track, but at least you have the outside-inside line, but not ideal as well, because it's so easy to lose grip on the outside of the S section. So Lucas is 8 tenths behind Man of the Beast, and he has to get a move on right now to overtake him, and let's see what he does then. He is 7 tenths behind. There he is, as Heiken Haas puts himself into P4, launches down the inside. What's a fantastic move from the RB driver, as we finally see an overtake in a different place other than turn number 1. But once again, these guys getting so close together, all these guys bunched up as well, fighting for the lead of the Grand Prix. So intense, as you can see that drivers have different confidence levels going in towards the corners, as Heiken Haas looks very pumped up so far, and he's putting a big pressure on Kick in front of him as well in the Williams. His teammate Lucas then does dispatch Man of the Beast as he sets sails after TVHNL. All here, it's Heiken Haas, but not going to make a move down the inside in towards the chicane there. Thinks better of it. Maybe try to force a dummy to make sure to try and get Kick to get a mistake at the corner, but Kick doesn't fall for that one, as Lawrence then stays behind Eastbound. So it's been like this throughout the whole Grand Prix. First and second they're just changing, whilst the guys behind just can't seem to try and get themselves further along the grid. It's just like normal DRS, where it's just so difficult to get yourself along the pecking order.
Indeed, it's very hard to overtake, and as Laser sets the fastest lap of the race on his new set of hard compound tires, Lucas is going to get ahead of the Mercedes of TVHNL in a very handy place on this track just before the first sector. He now has 2 seconds to close towards Mominik, who is still going on a 14 lap old medium compound tire. That's an interesting strategy from the Kick Sauber. Van in the McLaren, he's 3.5 seconds behind Laser, who's now just a little bit stuck, as Heiken Haas once again with the move up the inside of the hairpin does the exact same as he did last lap, and he hasn't fully cleared the Williams yet, but now he has, and he puts himself into P3, into the podium position. Once again, brilliant move from the feature catch-up RB driver. He's still got the Williams very close behind, as there's yellow flags out in the middle sector, and that is for Ramon, who's had an issue in the Aston Martin. I think he had spun out of the hairpin, but once again, very good move from Heiken Haas, who's making his way up the order just ahead of the pit stop phase, which is A very clever thing to do, as you want to be as far up the order as you can be. Near the end of the stint, Eastbound into the pit lane, Lawrence stays out, Geitka's kick, they're all going in, except for Lawrence and Fireblaze. They are staying out, but all the rest of them are pitting, and where are they going to come out compared to the likes of Lucas?
So I think Laser was the one that caused the yellow flag. He's just lost a lot of time towards Lucas. Like you said, 2 seconds back, now he's 5 seconds behind Lucas. So I think he made a mistake at Degner too. And now Van's got in front of him up to P13. So that's the person that caused the yellow flags. And let's see, where is the Williams? Here comes Lucas as Laser gets a second time penalty in this race, and he retires as well. So just unfortunately it was him that made a mistake, and he is out of the Grand Prix, and that's it for him. His second attempt here in SDN turns into retirement. It was second place in Hungary. Now it's a DNF here in Suzuka then. So it was going well for him until that slight hiccup in towards the second chicane, second Degner, sorry. So crucially then, Lucas rejoins in front of this team, in front of this train for his sake, because the guys behind are of course on a brand new set of the medium compound tyres then. As I get my bearings, there we go, let me get my graphics up. So Eastbound is about 1.6 seconds away from Lucas. So Lucas hasn't really pulled out much of an advantage on these hard compound tyres by having a few laps to run in clean air and try and get ahead of him by a margin. But it's not a big margin so far. So I think Lucas could be in the back foot because he's got people behind him on new medium compound tyres. Mum and Nick will be dispatched very quickly. And we see that Lucas is on the back of Raymond, and Lawrence and Fireblaze have pitted. Eastbound now puts himself into P6 ahead of the kick Sauber, and he's almost in the DRS range. In fact, very close to it as Lucas and Ramon make contact going in down towards the chicane there, but Lucas gets ahead and puts himself into P4. But here comes Eastbound as the kick Sauber on Mum and Nick is in the pit lane. So Aston Martin drivers open his DRS, but Eastbound is, in fact, where is the DRS? It's not even.
He didn't even have it. Not sure what happened, but he has got past, as Eastbound doesn't make the life of Eastbound very difficult, and Eastbound, crucially, is within DRS range, whereas Lawrence come out down in P7, so he's lost a lot of time as the other cars have undercutted him. He's down in P7, Fireblaze is down in P9, but he is still within that DRS range, which is the most important thing. But Lawrence has got a bit of a job to do to try and regain where he was before he pitted. He has some overtake. The two Aston Martins in front of him, Eric getting held up a little bit by his teammate. Oh, very close on the back end of Ramon. He does get ahead, but he's now 1.5 seconds behind Geitka's. He's lost the connection to the leading three drivers, as Ramon is just ahead still of Lawrence, who is desperately trying to find a way past in the Alpine. He can't lose too much time behind these drivers. He's going to pull to the inside of Spoon, where Vettel and Verstappen had a moment back in 2018 where the Ferrari went round. Ramon goes off track and the Alpine of Lawrence goes through, and Ramon is now just ahead of Eric. So the Alpine, he's got 1.4 seconds to close towards Eric, who himself got a gap to close, and he's got nothing in the battery remaining. So currently it's down to a three-way fight between Lucas, Eastbound and Geitka's, but we know that Lucas is going to be slower on these hard compound tires, and Eastbound is going to find a way past very, very soon, as he's already the wrong side on the exit. Sets the fast lap of the race. It goes to Geitka's as both of them get past. Eastbound takes the lead of this race. Geitka's very close to the back, and can these two now drive away into the distance and potentially drop it down to a two-way fight?
Wow, Geitka's with those fantastic moves as Fireblaze gets ahead of Ramon. Ramon's been dropped backwards into P9. He goes then as the two guys ahead get past. Oh, off the track goes Robbie Jacobs there, side by side with Ruben, but barely any space given between the two there. Robbie tries to go around the outside, but couldn't quite make it stick. But, no, I said it every single week, but can Geitka's finally get his first win of the season? He's been looking very, very close. Had a few hiccups with penalties, especially speed in the pit lane in Silverstone, and a few other mistakes along the way. But could this be his biggest chance of winning? What fantastic moves he did as well on his hard compound tyres. He up the inside into the hairpin, and definitely channeling his inner Kamuru Kobayashi overtakes as well by doing that, as we see Haas on the back of Eastbound headed down towards 130R. But I presume that Haas will just wait. He knows that he can use the DRS in the latter stages, so just sit behind him and probably wait, which he is doing right now, of course. As you can see, Eastbound just baited him to overtake him, but Haas will not fall for that. But it will help the likes of Lucas, Eric, Lawrence, Fireblaze be brought back into play, and now Haas is going to go for the net lead of this Grand Prix. It's not RB1-2, but not the circumstances, as here comes Lawrence now on the back of Eric. That was a very easy overtaking lead around the outside as he puts himself into P5. Kick is ahead of Fireblaze, he puts himself into P7 ahead of the Ferrari driver, now the only Ferrari driver left in this Grand Prix, as his teammate just called it quits for some reason, but I'm not quite sure why he did that. Maybe that mistake really annoyed him and just caused him to retire. It's not like Laser, but obviously I do know him in a different league, of course, and he's the admin of the league. So let's see then what happens in the last opening laps of this Grand Prix. Who is going to be the one to win here? Who has got the best? Who is going to have the track position? Who is going to... Well, let's find out.
And I wonder, can Timmy Boy help out his teammate? He is the only one staying out. He's got Gaitakas right behind him. Can he potentially hold up the likes of Eastbound, Lucas, Lawrence, everyone behind, to help his teammate getting his first win of the season? It's going to be interesting to see. Timmy Boy, he's got his teammate for company. I'm sure he won't make his life very difficult. Going to get out of the way, presumably. Maybe even give him the DRS, or is he going to stay behind for now? Gaitakas, he is staying behind just for now to try and snatch the DRS away as well for good measure. But Eastbound is very close to the back as well, and he knows that he needs to find a way past Timmy Boy as soon as possible. Timmy Boy very, very early on the brakes, and that was almost Eastbound running into the back. And there's not much Timmy Boy can do, as he's got the Haas up the inside deploying ERS, but he doesn't have the DRS, and Eastbound does. So Gaitakas is through, but so is Eastbound, but Timmy Boy now in P3, and he could potentially hold up the likes of Lucas and the cars behind us. Fireblaze and Kick swap out positions. They're well outside of the DRS of the cars in front. I'm not sure what happened to them, as Eric and Lawrence, they have now caught up to the back of Timmy Boy and Lucas, and crucially, Timmy Boy, he's lost the DRS towards Eastbound, so it is turning into a two-way fight between Gaitakas and Eastbound 1.3 now, as Timmy Boy is really backing up these guys. It's so difficult to overtake in this part of the track, and really the earliest opportunity is down into the hairpin, where we've seen Gaitakas go for the move. Lucas is going to have to go the long way around the outside, but with the tire advantage should be able to do so, as he breaks very late around the outside. Wheel to wheel we go on the exit. Has the better traction, there's contact. Oh, Lawrence off the inside, we're going 3 wide on the exit, and there's more contact between the two of them. Lawrence gets past now as well. Is he going to go for the double move? No, not quite. He's still got Timmy Boy round his outside into Spoon, but the tire advantage puts the Alpine clear of the Visa catch-up RP, but look at the gap. Lucas 2 seconds behind Eastbound and Gaitakas.
Yeah, Timmy Boy holding up this pack here as well, so making it even more difficult to catch towards the top of the field, as Timmy Boy re-overtakes Eric, but there's contact going down towards 30 yards. Eric then finally gets past him. That was so frustrating for those guys as well. Just they wanted to smash him very quickly, but obviously I think Timmy Boy is playing a team game by holding these guys up in the first sector and losing the DRS now towards first and second, as he finally pits there to get rid of his hard compound tires. Lawrence makes the move back on Lucas, but does Lawrence and Lucas have the outright pace? He did in the first stint, but he's dropped away. I'd say dropped away. He's only 2.2 behind, but it's so difficult to get back in DRS range. Oh, Heighton has made a big mistake, and here comes Eastbound in the first sector, as Eastbound retakes the lead of the Grand Prix. And I think Heighton has, unfortunately, picked up the curb on too much there, which overrated the car and almost sent him into a spin, but keeps the car saved and lives on to fight for another day. There is 6 laps left to go in this Grand Prix. It's going to be between Haas or Eastbound, or maybe Lawrence in P3. Can Lawrence catch up? He's got some mighty pace. He was the leaders of the Grand Prix. It was Eastbound and Lawrence the leaders, but now he's changed around a bit in the second stint, but Lawrence is catching him as well. Let's see if Lawrence can get himself inside the DRS range, and if he does that, that'll bring the top 7 back together in terms of a big DRS trade. But we'll see then if the RP driver, as Haas as well, lost it almost out of Spoon. So being very, Haas just needs to be a bit more calmer there, because it seems to be like losing the car left, right, centre.
Yeah, those mistakes, they are opening the door for the likes of Lucas as they gaining time. 1.3 right now. It's not quite within striking distance just yet, but if they keep scuppering around and making mistakes like that, Lawrence could be with the two of them very soon indeed. 1.2 is now the gap as they swap around once more. Geitegas inherits the lead. As he re-overtakes Eastbrand into turn 1. We've got 6 laps to go. Geitegas ahead of Eastbrand. 1.3 is the gap towards Lawrence, and Lucas, he's just ahead of Erik, who's very close to the back as Ramon Aston Martin picks up a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He was on those hard compound tires for 21 laps, and he's going to put on a set of mediums, not even the softs like Timmy Boy did, but he is going to go onto the mediums. This race is very much a lost cause, unfortunately down in P15, well outside the points, but he did help out his teammate maybe a little bit in the earlier stint of this race. But Lawrence, look how close he is. 1.0, can he get it underneath a second? He does right now, but Eastbrand has more ERS in the battery. Lawrence is using absolutely everything he has to get himself underneath the second. He's also very close to getting Lucas outside of his DRS, which could become very crucial as Lucas goes wide off track, but he doesn't pick up a penalty just yet. Might have picked up a warning, and he's now trying to get himself under the second, but looks like Lawrence is going to clear the Williams, or is he? But Lawrence for sure has now got back into contention. He's 7/10 behind the leading pair, and it has turned now into a three-way fight.
It is indeed there between three very handy drivers indeed, but Geitenhaas and Lawrence looking for their first win of the season. Of course, Lawrence on his debut here in SDN, and Geitenhaas, who's just missed out on victories as well as Eastbrand stays behind. It's the same tactic that Eastbrand's been doing as Erik and Fireblaze all so close down towards the table, but Fireblaze is going to go for the move regardless, but no, Erik stays around the outside and still stays in P4. It was so intense there. Lucas got shuffled back, unfortunately, twice there into P6 as Erik loses the car in the first sector. The car seems to be very snatchy for him in that first sector as well, so be very careful as well because he almost went off the track quite a few times there. It's very unforgiving indeed, but it seems that both Williams then have lost the contention to try and get themselves a podium or the win then. Their strategy hasn't really worked in their favour. Kick hasn't simply had the pace, unfortunately. Lucas there didn't have the pace either, going from mediums to hards, so his strategy hasn't worked out either just yet. But can Erik and Fireblaze find themselves in that battle? I'm not quite sure, so I think it's just down to the top three to decide who will win the Grand Prix. I think being in second place is probably the best place to be on the final lap of the Grand Prix, because I was one of those people that was in second at the time and managed to get my rival. No, I was in third. They got my rival for second place as well. So look at this then. Lawrence gaining again on the Eastbound. He is derated. Will he get it before the final few corners? He will. Side by side in towards the breaker zone he goes. And Lawrence is up into P2. And he almost lost the car as well under braking. But Eastbound just derated there. And that was cost him a place towards Lawrence now. So is Eastbound on the back foot? Will he get past him immediately going down towards turn 1? There is 3 laps left to go in this race. Fireblaze gets ahead of Erik as we watch the top 3 barrel their way down in towards turn 1 and turn 2. As all these guys know, it is very crucial at this stage of the Grand Prix to harvest the ERS, save it as much as you can, ready for the last lap of time. That's what all these 3 are doing here. You can see the battery level is roughly about 100%, except Geitenhaas, who is the leader, of course, hence why we're using more battery as well. So Geitenhaas also needs to be very tactical in terms of his ERS, because otherwise he might get swamped in the last lap with those guys having more battery to play with as well and use it down those straights.
Indeed, we've got 3 laps to go. Geitegas in a good position, but is he in the best position? Here's the question as Lawrence goes a little bit deep into the hairpin, and look how close Eastbrand is to the back of the Alpine, but Eastbrand probably knows that there's no point in fighting right now, as Robbe, I think, has gone off. Yes, he has. So his race has gone from bad to worse in the Haas, as he's found himself off track, and so has Octavia, as he's gone off as well in turn 7 as the tire wear starts kicking in the latter stages of this race. But Geitegas is in the lead. He's only got 40% ERS, and Lawrence, he's got 75. He's got much more and could potentially go for the race lead on this next straight, and could Eastbrand follow him through as well. You want to be in second place going on to the final lap, as Lucas picks up a 3-second time penalty. That is going to limit his chances of finishing inside the top 6, as his teammate will get ahead. And here comes Lawrence to the inside. We go 3 wide as we go onto the straight, and Lawrence takes the lead. Eastbrand to second. Geitegas drops down to P3 as Robbe has retired from the session on track, which is not the ideal thing you want to do. But Lawrence is now in the best position in the house, and Geitegas in the worst.
and Eastbound could possibly as well be in a good seat to try and get P1 back away from Lawrence, as he will stay behind him, but he needs to watch out for Heisenhaus as well in P3 as well. So it's going to be about who is in what place on the final few laps of the Grand Prix, and we'll see who is first, because first place is possibly the worst place to be in the last lap, especially with guys behind you having DRS. But you can counteract it if you save up the battery as well, because I know that there could be a few last lap battles in the final sector as well, especially in towards the chicane, where if you have the battery, then you can use it all the way down the straight in towards the Castillo Triangle chicane. As we make our way down towards Spoon we go. Of course, the bus stop chicane is at the Belgian Grand Prix. Completely different track as well, completely different layouts. But here we are then, we're the top 3 in this race. Let's see if Eastbound is able to stay in P2, because if he does that, keeps Heisenhaus behind him, then he'll have a good chance of overtaking Lawrence as well. What's Heisenhaus in P3 going to do as well? Can he try somehow get himself back into the in first or second? It's going to be very difficult now being in P3 with the guys ahead of having DRS, but here we go on the straight once again. Then Eastbound is keeping an eye on Heisenhaus there, judging whether he should overtake him or not. Now he goes for the overtake into towards turn 1 and turn 2. They're side by side as Eastbound takes the lead of the Grand Prix, as Eric and Lucas then swap places in the background, as now we see that Kick is also involved as well. Lucas has been swapped by Eric. Eric is up to P5. Fireblaze has almost caught the battle for first, second and third. So Fireblaze could join this party at the wrong time, because it'll be the last lap of the Grand Prix. But if he does get the back of this, can he capitalise if the top 3 make a big mistake? But so far, Eastbound is leading the Grand Prix by 6-7 tenths of a second. He's trying to push as hard as he can to make sure that on the last lap, he has a bit of a margin behind him to prevent the overtakes happening on the main straight then. As we see, Aston Martin of Ramon, unfortunately retiring from the session. What a disappointing race it's been so far. The man that qualified inside of the top 10, but ever since the first few laps of his race went backwards from P10 to P14 in the opening stage of the Grand Prix. But now we're headed out of Spoon then, as Fireblaze has caught this battle. But look at Eric, he's so far behind as well. The gap is 2.2, so those guys have been squabbling amongst themselves, and they've lost themselves a lot of time. So Fireblaze has joined this battle, but it could be a bit too late, as he's got low ERS as well. He's used all that battery, but Heisenhaus is quite far behind Lawrence as well. So Lawrence in a very good position to overtake Eastbound on the final lap here with the DRS wide open. He's barely got any battery left in his disposal. But here comes Lawrence now. He will take the lead of the Grand Prix as Eastbound forces him on the right hand side as we head down towards turn 1. But here comes Eastbound back down the inside, in towards turn 2 we go. The wheel to wheel out of the corner as they continue their fight towards the S section. Still wheel to wheel, making contact. Forging between the two, and they keep it on the track as well. Unbelievable stuff indeed. But Eastbound stays in the lead of the Grand Prix as he did the right thing. So what he did is he forced Lawrence into a acute angle, so therefore Eastbound could get it back down towards turn 1 and turn 2. Great tactical work there from Eastbound, as he knew Lawrence would go a bit deep in the corner, therefore he could do it under and over, get it back. Very clever racing indeed, especially at high intensity speed as well. As we head down towards the hairpin we go, but it might not be over just yet, because we could see more changes headed down into the chicane we go. About to find out now, but you can see that Lawrence is lacking ERS, so he might not have the chance to try and get him down. But he goes a bit out wide, he touched the grass on the outside there, and now Heisenhaus is all at the back of his wall. He's got way more ERS in comparison to Lawrence then, so here he is then. Heisenhaus use their battery as they go all these swap lines there, make contact, and here comes the RB's Kick is retired. Eric, has retired from this race as Heisenhaus can't find a way past the RP driver. Now he has got a 3-second time penalty. Oh, they make contact. Heisenhaus is off. Into the runoff area he goes. Rejoins on the circuit as Fireblaze might get him. Into towards the line we go as Eastbound wins the Japanese Grand Prix ahead of Heisenhaus, and Fireblaze is on the podium. Didn't expect him to be on the podium considering where he was in the first and second stint. Quite far behind, but Fireblaze somehow gets on the podium, and ETA Lawrence, who was fighting for first majority of this Grand Prix, doesn't even see himself on the podium as the rest cross the line. As we see Timmy Boy, Mummy Nick, NA, TVHNL and Saltavia. Well, 12 finishers left in this race, as both Aston Martins out of this race, unfortunately, and that's going to be a big shock there, because Eric was very strong in the last few races. He picked up a win back in Silverstone, and he also picked up a win back in Monza as well, but a DNF here could be very costly indeed. And Fireblaze was a 10th behind Heisenhaus in P2.
Man, it was getting feisty on that final lap. Unfortunately, my headset disconnected in the final sector of the final lap, but I got it back. And I did see what happened into that chicane. Absolute carnage on the final lap, but wow, Eastbrand managing to win. He finishes this race with the way he started, with Laurens side by side into the SS like they were on the opening lap, and they were on the final lap as well. And Eastbrand just edged ahead of the Alpine, who went off in the final chicane as well, like we had with Leclerc and Perez in real life in 2022. But Eastbrand is the winner of the Japanese Grand Prix. What a drive from him. And he fireblazed on the podium as well. Not sure how he's managed that, but he just kept it calm and collected. Geitenkaas once again missing out on a golden opportunity of winning this race. He only has to settle for second place. Very unfortunate for him. Ruben with the fastest lap, but man, what a race that was.
Indeed, then actually packed all the way down to the wire as it is in the land of the rising sun, causing many great battles here in Japan. Eastbrand then is the winner. Once again, Eastbrand extends his championship lead over Eric and Fireblaze. That's very handy indeed, considering that one of his championship rivals unfortunately retired from this Grand Prix in Spoon. Exit of Spoons. That's a very weird place to retire there. Well, not weird, but on the last lap as well. The circumstances are quite weird. But you'll definitely... Eastbrand will definitely extend his championship margin ahead of Eric, Fireblaze and Lucas, who had difficult races themselves. So there's the classifications. Eastbrand is your winner. Geitenkaas in P2 ahead of Fireblaze. ETA Lawrence in P4 ahead of Kick. Both Williams P5 and P6 ahead of a Van, who did have good race pace at the start but dropped backwards in the second part. Ruben in P8 ahead of Timmy Boy on the soft compound tires towards the end. And Mummy Nick inside the top 10. Great drive from Mummy Nick as well. Fantastic as TVHNL P11, Octavia P12, and there are your DNS P13 to P18 are your DNS as well. But Mummy Nick is inside the top 10, and that's what happens when your patience is rewarded sometimes.
Indeed it is, as he picks up another point in this chaotic race towards the end. But very good to see this race. And I'm excited for the remaining races of this season, as I once again struggle to find the calendar. There we go. We've got 4 races remaining, and next week we're gonna head all the way to Canada for the Canadian Grand Prix at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, which is also a very interesting circuit for battling with those 2 DRS trains finishing off the lap. So interesting track as well, and it's going to be exciting to see who is going to come out on top next week.
We didn't even get a chance to talk about the Australian Grand Prix and and also China as well. We didn't get a chance to talk about that. But Lewis Hamilton will start on pole, or the sprint qualified pole, for the sprint race for tomorrow's race as well. Don't go anywhere, because Hamilton versus Verstappen 1-2 on the grid like they were back in Silverstone. Let's see what happens going down in towards turn 1. McLaren couldn't hook up their lap when they needed to, especially Lando Norris with that big mistake in turn 14, locking up as well. It should be an interesting sprint race and qualified session after that as well in a few hours time. So we'll see you all later. And also as well, one person we need to mention as well is Eddie Jordan as well, who sadly passed away, I think, yesterday. Some sad news, and a real legend of motorsport as well, a team owner. And he's collected so many good people to work in his team. He's collected so many great drivers, including Michael Schumacher, Heinz Frentzen, and Rubens Barrichello, and many more in his wake as well. But yeah, sadly for him, well, sadly he has passed away, and we have lost a real legend to the motorsport.
Indeed, rest in peace, Eddie Jordan. Yeah. Nice tribute for him for this weekend's race, but I don't know if you're staying up for the sprint race. It's what is it, 3 a.m. for you?
Let me have a look. I've got it saved on my phone. It is.
I think it is.
It's 2:25. It says.
Nah, it starts at 3 then. I believe. So wonderful time then for sprint race, midnight. Love it.
Lucas, thank you so much for your kind comments as well. But yeah. Once again, Milan, it's been an absolute pleasure to commentate with you week in, week out, every single week, depending what league we're in. It's always been a massive pleasure, mate. Thank you so much for your company as well, all your great insights, your entertainment as well, and your knowledge. You've been a wonderful addition to SDN. I think we both have as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. We both have indeed, and I've loved every second of it, what we're doing here. and can't wait to do it again next week. But that's it for tonight then.
It is indeed then. So we move over to the next race, which is the Canadian Grand Prix. We move to North America for Canada, and we'll see you all there. And we know the weather can play an impact, especially back in 2011 as well, and also last year in 2024. But we'll see you all later. Goodbye for now. Enjoy the race this weekend as well for the sprint and qualifying and the race on Sunday. And I'll get a chance to speak to you about China next week on Friday to discuss what happened during the Grand Prix.
Adios.